Alright, so you want to learn how to MIG weld. If you're trying to do it on a budget, you would like to be able to at least flux core weld, maybe stick weld, and possibly even TIG weld. Well, we call that multi-process welding. And what if we could do that for under, let's say $200? Well, that's actually pretty easy. Let's lower the bar a little bit. What if I say we want to do that for under $100? That gets a little harder, but that gets you addicted. So what we've got for you is we went through Amazon, as you see here. We went through, try to find something that would meet the criteria. I wanted something that's fairly name brand. We can go off brand, it's not a problem. But something that you could actually MIG, TIG, and stick for $100 and under, and we're not including tax on that, so I am taking that liberty. And if you're a channel member or if you're a Patreon member, stick around to the end because nice little surprise that I think you'll like. So let's see what we got. Alright, so we ended up finding this Yes welder Flux 135. So says it'll TIG, MIG, stick. Now it's DC lift arc only. Comes with your ground clamp, your MIG gun, and your stinger for your stick welding. Let's put this thing together and see how it does. So I did have to sand the tip of this down a little bit. There was some mismatch and it wouldn't let the spool go on. So here in a little bit I'll show you a good place to get this wire. Now we're just going to run this Lincoln 030. Okay, so we're going to get some of this 030 inner shield. Tells you flux cord. The fact that it's silver tells me that it's flux core wire. Now if you're picking up hard wire for gas, it's going to typically be this nice copperish color. So before I put the wire in, let's put the gun on. We'll put the trigger in here first. Now imagine if you get a TIG setup for this, you'll use the just plug into the same point. And it's standard DINS connection, so it'll be easy for you. And 110, so that'll be easy. It is alive! So it shows here stick 030, 035, and lift TIG. We're going to go into 030. So just be careful when you load this. If you let this wire go, it's just dying to explode on you. All right, then this is your tensioner. I'm just going to get this going here before let me get a fresh end on this before I put the screw on. That fresh end will make it easier to get through the feeder. Now the roller, you'll end up seeing it'll have two sides on it. 030. I think it actually is labeled 0.08, 0.09, I believe. There. This little feel there. And it's got knurled rollers on it. I have a lot of content on the channel for flux core welding, so I'm not going to cover everything. You hit the trigger, you'll see it's feeding. Proper contact tip. Now you can see here it says 0.08 contact, not 0.08. I guess it's 0.8. I don't metric. Put the contact shield on, and it comes with the complete manual with a couple tips. So we'll see what it does. Then you would just plug in your ground. And if you don't know which one to plug it into, the manual will spell it out for you. Alright, so I'm going to grab a piece of scrap and we're going to see what this thing will do. Now I'm going to pretty much set it on the max. Let's see what it'll do. And blew a breaker. So I think what we'll do is I'll end up moving this to something that I know has a little bit more of a Okay, so let's see. So this is the flux core, so you're gonna have some slag. I'm going to go down just a little bit on voltage. I'm going to go down to 120. Yeah, that sounds a little better. It doesn't have that pulsing effect. So let's do the unthinkable. Let's open the book. Okay. So knob number 3, amperage. So it is amperage. So on old blue there, everything's in voltage. So on this Yes welder, it's all amperage, which makes sense. And number 2 is your voltage adjustment. So that's a little squirrely on this machine. I'm on the MIG. MIG's down here. So there's your voltage, which that can't be right because you would never like that wire at 3 volts. But who knows? So this is where you really have to, you're given some settings and learning how to adjust the settings. Whether you agree with them or not, you got a couple dials. They might be A through Z, 1 through 3, and you really just kind of gotta adjust the settings to what is actually working for you. And once again, we cover all of that in flux core welding and on the in the channel. So I wouldn't do anything over 1/8 inch with this, but you know, that really isn't horrible. It's flux core, so just get used to running it. All right, so let's see what it does on stick. So it gives you some troubleshooting stuff. If this happens, try this or that. Right, so the manual's got some stuff in there. And one nice thing about it, if you take the time to read it, it kind of goes through, you know, some of your settings. So we are in the, if we go for the stick welding, it shows you here where they want everything to be connected, just like they did with the MIG and for the lift TIG. Let's set this up for stick welding. Now we're going to try some 3/32 70/18. I got a feeling it's going to be a little bit much for this, but let's see. Don't set this on the table because you will complete the circuit because that's hot right now. And we're going to try about 80 amp. That's a little bit light for a 3/32, but let's see. So I'll be the first to tell you, I'm not a stick welder, but I have found if I don't have enough amperage to carry it, at least for me, they stick because I don't have the touch. Turn this all the way up. Let's see what she does. Yep. By the time it lit up, we kicked the breaker. So I don't think you're going to be welding many 3/32 with this. So good thing we also have some 16th here. And these are all from Harbor Freight. Well, I got in about 1 inch of weld before it shut off. Okay, so I'll be the first to tell you, those are horrible welds. So let me turn that down a little bit. I'm going to go down here to 70. I'll tell you, what's a 16th? Let's go 1 amp per thickness of wire. And I can tell you right now that that's probably way too cool. but it ran. So it looks like stick welding much above 60 amps on a 20 amp breaker, it's not gonna fly. Well, it started like crap, but in the middle of the weld, I don't think it was too bad. So it started like crap, and that's all me, obviously. And as we started going, I think that worked out really well. 1/16 rod at about 0.62. I think you're good. And you start getting up in that 70, 80 range, I think it'll blow the breakers. Okay, so you've seen now the 16th, those ran pretty good. You get down and run it at 60 amps, it stays running. So if you're trying to do some smaller 1/8 inch stuff, I think you might be able to squeak it by. It'll take you a couple passes. Now, I got these from Harbor Freight, but as I showed you earlier, you can get all this stuff from Lowe's as well. Now, the one thing I did find that if you run this much, you can see the casing there was melting. Flies are killing me today. Now, if you want to actually TIG weld with it, you got to buy the torch. That'll take you over the $100 that I was trying to keep it under. Flux core MIG and practice with the stick. If you can build some good principles, you can carry that over, you know, to bigger machines like the Miller there, or if you want to buy something else. You don't have to spend a fortune just to try to figure out if you like welding as a hobby. Now, one thing I was teasing, if you're a channel member or if you're with us on Patreon, this is the 1st of September 2023. At the end of September, I'm going to draw a name out of the channel members and the Patreon people. And I should say Patreon members, right? That's probably the way I should say it. And then we'll give this away with the spool of wire. Now, if all the other stuff, you'll have to buy your welding helmet and gloves and all that. And I have videos on that all on the channel. So if you want some help flux core welding, I'll see you here for that. If you want the welder, go join. I'll leave a link for it in the descriptions below if you want to buy it for $99. I hope you enjoyed it. It can be a lot of fun. I'll see you here for some tips.